It's Friday. It's 12:30-ish. It can mean only one thing. It's time for Jerry Lyons to take a break from Success City and give us his inspiration, PR, and property content news. Mr. Lyons, take it away.
How are you, sir?
Do you know what? I've missed you. I've missed you. We've had a bit of a Christmas break. And everybody's back raring to go. And I wanted to ask you about something that no doubt you will not want to talk about, but I think we need to talk about it because it's the elephant in the content creation room. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Chat GPT, my friend.
Chat
GPT. So that is the AI. It's the AI bot that everybody's been playing around. So just if you've been living under a rock, I'll give you a précis of how Chat GPT works. You go to this site and you can type in, please write my wife a letter telling her that I won't be coming home tonight and that I've left and I'm running away to Antigua with the cleaner, and it will put together a lovely letter using what it kind of knows and what you've said. Similarly, you can also use it to write a blog or, give me 10 tips on how to present my house for a viewing and things like that. Now, it's good. It's clever. It works quickly.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, is it a replacement for a content writer or not?
If a machine can outright me or journalists that have trained for 20 years to write, then I'll pack up and go home. The other thing as well, can I say?
Yeah, sure, please.
Chat GPT, if you're an estate agent, 2 estate agents in the same town use that Chat GPT or whatever it's called. They get the same content, exact same content. They're in the same town. That's the Achilles heel. If you want a brand that is happy to go down that route, say we'll take our chances, great. But there's plagiarism issues as well about that with this, because it just duplicates the same stuff. It's a bit like, it's not like when Purple Bricks entered a state agency, put it that way. And everyone, I speak to a lot of people in the content world outside of our industry, and some of them say where they're going to lose a bit is the bit that they don't want anyway, which is the cheapskates.
Okay, well, you could have made this a lot simpler and just said, look, when you go to a fine Italian restaurant, you have an Italian chef that has made the pasta by hand. He's mixed the water and the flour together. He's got it absolutely perfect. He's using 30, 40 years of knowledge that he's built, skill, to create a meal that is a piece of art. It stands on its own as evidence that this guy's a great chef and it's the best meal that you're ever going to have. On the other hand, here's a pot noodle.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, isn't it?
This is why you're a frustrated journalist. I think I've told you several times.
I'm done. We've done our podcast for today. Goodbye. Have a great weekend. Mind yourself on the roads. It's wet out there. We're done.
In all seriousness, it's the street of content. Is it street? Not street. They're good. What's that really cheap brand? Strike? Is it? What's the cheap brand?
So there are cheap brands such as Strike. You mentioned Purple Bricks earlier. There's tons.
It's the content equivalent. They'll have a bit of their market. They've probably got loads of really dozy people invest millions in them because they're a prop something or other. Not prop. They're a tech something or other. Yeah, we're not worried.
It's interesting you say you're not worried. I've obviously spoken to some other content creators as well, and content writers out there, and equally some of them use it a little bit. So
that is just cheating. They should be ashamed of themselves.
What I love about you, though, Jerry Lyons,
if you have to resort, let me make my point. If you have to resort to using a machine you're not a writer. Here's a thing that gets me a little bit wound up. Writing's a skill. There's a lot of failed estate agents that think, I'm not really smashing it in the estate agency. Let me go and write. Writing's hard. I've got a team, our collective team, we've got me, 20, 25, 65 years of writing experience. That's journalism, copywriting. Yeah, good luck sort of getting a machine that will pull that sort of stuff together.
You know what, when they talk about AI and they talk about how intelligent it is, and it is scary how much it knows and how quickly it learns, and actually how far advanced these things are. But you always think about that apocalyptic scenario because we've been brought up on sci-fi, haven't we? Which teaches us that the machines are one day going to turn against us. They'll become sentient and they'll decide that they don't like us anymore. You've got that whole Terminator scenario, Skynet. Yeah. Does it worry you, this sort of stuff? Does it keep you awake at night, Jerry?
Not really. We're all going to die one way or another. You know?
So it might as well be in a. What
is it? Bob Marley said, "What was it? Have no fear for atomic energy because none of them can stop the time." I think there's a lot of wisdom in that line. You know, I think there's a lot of wisdom.
Well, we've gone from Terminator 2 to Bob Marley very quickly, which is why this podcast is probably one of the best ones out there. Jerry, one of the things that I do love about you so much, and there's so much of about you to love, is that you are taking the time to visit some of the best agents in the world, if not the country, and just to see how things are going there and how they do things differently. You previously have visited Vicky and Asad location, and there was a lot of I think Stephen Brown calls it learnings that you can take away from this. Yeah. So you've been to visit somebody else, and that article that you wrote on it is doing a storm.
It's really popular. I mean, the location one was really popular as well. So I went to visit Paramount Properties in. I grew up around that way, and I never know what to call that area. It's kind of, was it West Ham? Not West Hampsteady. It's Hampsteady, but sort of near Queen's Parkish, not far from Cricklewood and not far from Willesden. Anyway, that northwest part of London. And for those that don't know Paramount Properties, you need to. Yeah, thank you. There's the link to it. They're headed up by a guy called Spencer Lawrence. So humble, so intelligent, so hardworking, but he's got a brilliant team, and he pretty much stepped back and just let me chat with the team, have a chat with him. So I spent a morning there, just with the view to just do an article that might be able to help agents learn from it. Bear in mind, and I think this is where some agents do make me laugh, some people went the article was too long. Luke Sinclair goes to Australia to learn. That is always what I back to people. Go, I can't be bothered to. I've got to drive there, and is there parking? Luke Sinclair goes to Australia. Maybe that's the reason why he's where he is, and others are where they are.
You need to. I think it's so easy. I was just talking to an agent a while ago. I think one of the hardest things about being an estate agent is that it's relatively new, this whole concept of us sharing together, mentoring each other and bouncing ideas off each other. But for the most part, especially in your local patch, it's extremely lonely being an estate agent because you become paranoid about your competition. You don't want to share ideas. You don't want to publicize too much what you're doing and how you're doing it in case somebody else copies it. What I think is that when you do take time to go and spend time with other agents and you do put down all that kind of prejudice that you carry around with you and you just sit there ready to learn and absorb, there's so much you can learn very, very quickly. And just seeing, and you will appreciate two things. And one is that there's always a different way to do things, but also that the challenges that we all have and face are by and large very similar, despite whatever area of the country you live in. We all come up against the same stuff. So I think what you're doing is great. So which part of this cake do you want to eat first?
Well, I thought, because it's quite a long read, there's 7 main points to the article that we can just run through. So I know what are we? We're sort of like a 20-minute webinar, aren't we?
We're as long as you want it to be honest. I think you normally get bored after about 20 minutes and you do that whole, I've got to go and pick Charlotte up from football practice or something like that, and you get me off the phone.
Yeah, even though it's like sort of 12:30 in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So the 7 things that I've learned, I've highlighted them here. You know, sometimes you go to a business and they say something, you think, well, how can that work? And one of the first things I picked up on during the conversation was Spencer and his go-to girl, Regan, like partnering in excellence rather than partnering in crime because they don't nick anything. He said there's no KPIs, like performance KPIs for the teams, like, you know, like how many calls you got to make, how many this you got to do. He said, no, we trust them to do the right thing. And the numbers look after themselves in terms of the financial because they're a very successful company. So he just said, no, we trust them. And if we have to set them performance KPIs, I think he said something along the lines of, we failed in our recruitment process, which I thought was really interesting. Do you know what I mean? So that was something. And then I'm still a bit wowed by that because I think that is such a, I've never heard of it before.
You know, the KPIs we consider to be very, very important in agency because it sets personal sort of performance goals for everybody there, and you can then judge how things are going. But sometimes KPIs can actually hurt you because you've got members of staff that are trying to tick boxes to get their KPIs done. It's not necessarily what's good for the customer. So you can sometimes push somebody down the wrong route.
It's a really good point. And yes, and you'll see in point 3, what you've just said there about not being good for the customer is something that they really focused on as well, and flipped it on its head. But no, point 2. So you got the point 1 was no KPIs. They trust their team. Ultimately, that's the way of summarizing that. And the second point was something I just picked up during a conversation with Spencer beforehand, and then to go and see it at work was really interesting. So, and we've discussed this, they don't call landlords, they call them owners. They don't call the properties a property. I think they call it a product. Yeah. They don't call tenants, they call them the residents. But I'm trying to think, there was loads. Right. This was the other one. What sounds better? Property review. Yeah. Or property inspection. If you're a resident, if you're a tenant.
If I'm a resident, an inspection feels like the HMRC are going to come in through the window with the SWAT team, pin me down, and go through my underwear.
Exactly. But a review makes it sound like, it gives you that sense of, they're going to look at stuff to see if they can make it better. That's normally why we review stuff. We look back on something and go, right, how can we make it better? So there was that, and there's that example about the power of language and how focused they are on, does it sound right, and are we sending across the right message with the way we're sounding, is part of the big picture where they're so focused on attention to details. It's a symbol of that attention, that broader attention to detail. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, the power of language. I was really impressed because obviously we work with words and that. You wouldn't believe it the way I speak, but we do.
Almost as strong as the power of love.
If they had a song, The Power of Language, then maybe yes. Or the power of language, it's just like a sandwich.
Yeah, brilliant.
In your soul.
See, you don't get this on any other podcast. No other podcast gives you Jerry Lyons singing. Give us your third morsel.
Third morsel is alluding to something you said there about is what you beat me to it, David. You've stolen my thunder. And they just said they always look to find the opportunity for the client first, being that the best solution for the resident, or the example they gave me, I think, did I write it down? I might not have written it down in the article, was they had a owner, stroke landlord, who said, I'm going to have to sell the property because I want to buy a house where I'm living abroad, and I'm going to have to sell that. And that's that sort of thing. But Spencer and his team basically sort of looked into it a bit more and said, you do realise if you structure your finances, you get the best of both worlds. And they came up with a solution that meant the owner keeps the property and still had the money to buy the family home abroad. So that was just one example out of many. They always, it's like a real, I hate the phrase, I'm not even going to use it. But like a client first. They put the client first. I was going to say client centric, which if you heard me say that and I was standing next to you, you could punch me in the face and I wouldn't do nothing. I've
got to tell you something, that in a state agency, you know who you're meant to be acting for. So yes, your client has always been a seller or it's been a landlord. It has led, that sort of way of looking at things has sometimes led to the tenants not being, or the residents, as you put it, being treated in a manner that they have come to expect, but also that they deserve. And it's disenfranchised people that would become future sellers and so on. So I think changing the mentality of how we deal with clients, but also asking ourselves the question of what serves the client. Because what serves the client best isn't necessarily what serves the estate agent best. And there are plenty of occasions where in a estate agency, if you're a good agent and you're an ethical agent, you're an honest agent, and you want to be a decent human being to boot, you're going to have to put the client's interest before yours every single time. And it's harder to do than it looks. And I think this is a great point.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said there. I mean, the fourth point following on from that is I sort of subtitled this bit, and it was they're world-class listeners. And I noticed that was a thing at location. I noticed when I sat in on a team meeting, they actually listened to each other rather than giving people lip service. This was location, and then I saw it at play in Paramount Properties, and Spencer was telling me he'll sit there and he said the most important thing is to listen and just listen and find out what the client wants, what the resident's issue is, where the opportunity is for the client, be they the owner or the resident. And they do an outgoing resident review. So if I've left their property, they'll go, right, Jerry, thanks for your 2 years staying at Acacia Avenue. How do you think we could improve it for the next person? What a great thing to do. Don't get me wrong. I bet you they get some people say, oh, yeah, I'll get back to you, and then they're gone. But other people go, you know what? This, that, and the other. But like Spencer came up with, he was telling me like common things that people want reviews, communal areas, keep them nice and clean because they do a lot of flats because they're in that part of London. Yeah. Lighting, just simple stuff, storage, but then because you're asking the question and listening, you're building up this picture and think, that's what most people want. So that's what we're going to build our service and our marketing around. So it's a really smart thing to do. And it takes effort.
And I think it makes the quality of the rented stock and the properties that you're offering people better. You talk about blocks and you talk about lighting and communal areas. You might spend a fraction of your time in the communal area. No one ever says, tell you what we're going to do tonight. We're going to go and sit in the communal area and read a newspaper. You're not going to do that. So you're not going to spend any time there. But it is the first thing that visitors to your home see. But it's also the first thing that you see every day when you come home from work. So like it or not, I know it doesn't belong to you, but if it's welcoming, it's well lit. And most importantly, it smells good. I'm putting that face on because I go into a lot of blocks of flats, and the first time you open a door, you go, oh God, because you've got that sort of whole communal, it can get a little bit much. So the better blocks are ones where they've taken that feedback and they've then sort of make it a more welcoming place to be. And they read your paper in the hallway.
Sorry, I'm just waving to tell Wendy not to come in. I've got a parcel from Amazon. Thank you. Sorry
Are we
about that.
live unboxing? Are you going to show us what's in your parcel?
I think it's whiteboard marker. I'm in my office now. Have you noticed I've changed the angle of the camera? Have you noticed?
Yes, I have. I've seen that. Yeah.
What do you think?
Nice.
Better, worse?
I think the great thing about you is that from whichever angle you look at you, your hair looks great.
It's remarkable. But yeah, I've got a whiteboard marker. I had a guy come in. He's painted a whiteboard onto my wall, so it's 6 meters square. And I can write on it. I've got loads of scribbles in it. It's like, have you seen the film The Beautiful Mind, where the guy goes as an episode? And who's that Facebook user said whatever angle it would awesome?
Oh, I don't know. Someone that likes you, I think they just want to become anonymous. I think that's the way it is. So moving on from your whiteboard markers,
yes.
take me to the triangle, the Bermuda Triangle.
Bermuda Triangle, where residents disappear.
Oh, it's Walking. It's Mr. Walking. Try contemporary.
I love Chris. I love Chris.
You couldn't eat on though, could you?
He's reminded me of something actually. I've got to look into something for him. He's going to come down to Brighton to see us. I am going to look into it, Chris. I'll do it after. So playing the triangle, they have a triangular focus, and it's simple. It's simple, but it's effective. They have the product, the owner, the resident. Now, in other people's language, lexicon would be tenant, landlord, property. But theirs is different language, but they focus on that really. It seemed to me they were maybe obsessive is the wrong word, but the focus was clear, and that's the whole idea about effective focus is clear. So they had a real clarity about what they were going to focus on to make it as good as possible, and it's those three things. So that was playing the triangle, and then point 6, they do loads for their community, and we spoke about this in the past. There's a real correlation between elite brilliant agents and how often they get involved in their communities, which I see all the time. Best agents tend to be the best in their communities. It really does seem some sort of commonality there.
I think it also shows that because community work takes people's investment in financial investment, but it takes time, and it all relates to care, doesn't it? It shows that you give a damn.
It was Rianne from their marketing team, from Paramount's marketing team. She came up with a great phrase, and I absolutely love it. She said, "Our community work changes the narrative around us as letting agents and as a local business," which it does. You go from being, "Oh yeah, they're a letting agent," to, "Oh yeah, they're that local business that rents out properties, that they do the Paramount Pantry, and they make sure kids have got toys at Christmas, and they have the food bank link up, and they have this and that." Really does change the narrative. And I thought it was just a nice, simple sentence that sums up community work in a estate agency. It changes the narrative for the better. So I really like that. And then, do you want point 7?
I love point 7 because we did this at our agency when I was our agencying, and I think it works. I think it's super effective.
It's playing to your strengths, David. Like, imagine if you had to present a show that was really serious and dry. I don't know, like a question time. You'd get sacked. You'd be too flippant. Yeah, that's not your skill set.
Thank you for joining us today. We're here to talk about the property industry and why your home move is going to be dry. No, it's not for me. It's not for me.
Is it?
My personality. I can do serious when need to.
You're a bit like estate agency's version of Ted Lasso.
I'll take that.
I love Ted Lasso. He's my man. I love him. I absolutely love him.
But going back to this point, we used to do this. That whole saying, people buy people. And we used to, when we were booking valuations, it wasn't a simple fact of, okay, we pick up the phone and we go, yeah, David's free at Tuesday at 11, we'll send him. We actually used to think about who are the people that we're dealing with, what age group are they in, what profile are they in, what area do they live in, is this going to suit, are they a young family? So therefore, do they want to talk to somebody else who understands everything that affects young families? Do they want somebody slightly more senior? Is it something that, and so actually matching people in the business to the people that you're actually dealing with, there's a whole load of sense to it. And I promise you, it works.
I mean, they take it to, they do that as well. So, like if they've got a certain owner who they think is, the example they gave me, if we've got an owner and they're really direct and they don't want any fluff, they just want, give me the facts, let me know what's going, and I'll get going on my property, I'll go about my day. So they have a person in their team whose communication style is very direct, hit, boom, 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 bang. They work perfectly together. Other people a bit fluffier, a bit softer, and want that more of a personal connection, and then they marry up that owner with the person best in their team to that. But do you want to hear where I was really, really impressed with this playing to your strengths thing? Do you want to know?
Yeah.
So they've got one of their maintenance team who looks after I think he's their gas and plumbing and boilers. He's their guy like that. And it shows a level of care for their team as well. Because Spencer said, we know that, I forget the guy's name, but let's say, I can't even think of his name. But let's say Bob. Bob loves doing refurbs, to refurb the whole house system. But Bob's job is also to do gas inspections. But guess what? We always make sure Bob's got at least, whatever it was, amount of refurbs every month, because that keeps his passion up. So when he is doing the stuff that he's not that passionate about, he still thinks, well, you know what? Next week I've got a big refurb to do. So do you know what I mean? I thought, what a great way of maintaining morale.
Just makes sense.
It does make sense. It does make sense. I mean, what I got out of the visit, and the same with location, is the culture is based on looking after people. It seems that is the primary motivator. Let's look after people, be that our team, be that our clients, be that our tenants, be that our suppliers, because both of them are a pleasure to deal with.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said. You get some hard-nosed people saying, you have to need this, you need this prop tech, you need that, you need this structure and all this. But ultimately, if you've got good people, you've got a chance. You've got a really, really good chance if you've got good people.
And I think if you can demonstrate all of these qualities and you can show the care, it feeds back into that trust issue that we're always trying to solve. And it builds that connection with the public. It builds a connection with your client, and it does your reputation wonders, but it also does the reputation of the industry as a whole. It goes up as a result of it.
But just really impressed. I'm looking now for a northern agency that's elite. I'm going to travel, because some people said to me, "Oh, you only go to London?" I went, "Yeah, because it's near."
I was going to say that I noticed you've been a little bit, starstruck by the big London lights, but I used location, and Paramount today as an example to an agent of, just have a look at how different it can be. And it's great to see that, but at the same time, I don't want to it's a very high bar. It's literally like choosing, the top football team in the league and saying, you need to be like that. You should aspire to be like that. You should take inspiration from that. You might not be able to get there as quickly. These people have been honing this for years. This stuff, you don't just wake up with this inspiration. You need to work at it. And if you have a chat with people like Vicky, Assad, Spencer, Regan, you'll know that they devote a tremendous amount of time and money to actually learning and to improving themselves and improving their staff.
You took the words out of my mouth there about the investment in learning and training and development. I remember something Vicky said during that time I was up there. She said, you said something about a challenging market, but she said, we won't be outworked, that's for sure. But she said, more importantly, we won't be outlearned. How powerful is that? You won't be outlearned. You don't hear that often, that people say, you know what, I'm going to learn more than you so I can give my clients the best service.
I spoke to one particular agent. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to embarrass either Vicky or this agent, but she had a pre-Christmas visit from Vicky who dropped off some Christmas presents, birthday presents for this person, and it was 3 books. Now, I just went, I bet you were really disappointed you got books. It's like when your grand turns up and go, I've got your birthday present, and it was just a book. And you wanted a computer game instead. But in actual fact, I've got to tell you, that shows the focus, because the books that she gave were all of them very inspirational, but each one of them, you could tell that if you were an agent and you actually sort of absorbed and implemented some of the advice in these books, it's going to improve you. It's going to improve you as a person. And that's her focus, isn't it? That's their focus.
They're all about improvement and raising the bar, both agencies. And there's other agencies there. It's not just, like a love fest for them too. They're exceptional. Those 2 agencies.
Okay, well, here we go. I'm opening this up. Everybody, you heard it here first. Jerry Lyons will come and visit you. It doesn't matter whether you're a client of his or not. If you think you've got what it takes to demonstrate that inspirational agencies and exceptional people exist outside the borough of London, please do get in touch with this podcast and we'll send you one Jerry Lyons.
Can I say, you know, the two companies there we just mentioned, Paramount and Location, amazing Google reviews is an indicator of excellence.
Reviews are an indicator of excellence, and it's also an indicator. You need to ask for them sometimes. And I think they're very good at that as well. And I think that's something that agents should work on.
Do you want me to sign off with a song?
I will ask you before we go what you're doing this weekend. If there's one takeaway you want to leave the agents with before we say goodbye.
Yes, I do actually.
So wait a second though. What are you doing this weekend?
So this weekend we're taking down the Christmas decorations. We're going to our local football club, non-league, because they need all the support they can get. And then Sunday, I'm not sure. I don't know. You know, like some people love doing stuff. I'm the opposite. I love not doing stuff.
I know what you're doing on Sunday. You're doing whatever Wendy has made a list of stuff that you've got to do. So, you know, Mike says, hey, do you fancy going out for a walk with me and the dog? And in my head, I think, great, fresh air, dog, outside, away from the kids. This is going to be great. And I get 2 minutes into the walk and I realize this is an opportunity for her to tell me all the things that she thinks we should do this weekend, which include a list of jobs, several trips to the tip, B&Q. There's always somebody that needs taking somewhere. And that's how my life is accounted for. So I do love those walks. They're very, very nurturing.
And dogs are the best. I love dogs.
Yeah, they are.
So that's what I'm doing. What was the other thing you wanted to take away?
Yeah, what your takeaway? Yeah.
I just posted that, right? Because I thought about this. It's basically, you know, your old stamps will basically be null and void after 31st of January. And I posted that in one of my groups and a few of the open source Facebook groups. That's a piece of content right there to share with your community.
What can you? So hang on. So just to explain the background to this, are they phasing out stamps altogether?
They're phasing out the stamps. So if you're left with old stamps, you're going to be, because they're putting barcodes on the stamps. Right. So this leaflet, and I'd imagine website that's below it, barcode stamps. It's got here from the Royal Mail. I'm amazed how many people don't know about this. So this is a great piece of content. Really simple. Take a photo, share it on your community pages. You could even drop it into, you know, some of your Instagram posts or stuff like that. A cornerstone of content is that it's got to be helpful. You know, it has nothing to do with a state agency, but everything to do with helping people. And as we've discussed, when you start helping more people, your business will thrive.
I love it. I've just Googled it. Non-barcoded stamps can be used until the 31st of January, but they can swap them for you, can't they?
This is what I'm doing today. Look, I've got loads left.
Oh, that's cash in the attic there.
Cash in the attic.
Well, I put a link to the Royal Mail's form that you can use if you want to cash your stamps in. You can do it over here, but it's great if you could share that with your communities. I think you're being a helpful person.
Nice, easy bit of content. So easy to do, and sometimes the easiest content is the best.
And it's that time of the week where I say, Jerry Lyons, take it away.
What should I sing about?
I don't know. You wanted to sing, so I'm giving you
the
option.
Long and winding road.
Dun, 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 dun.
To your, and then we phase out. You're supposed to phase it out.
Oh, we're going to phase out now and go away. We'd like to wish all I must apologise for Mr. Lyons. He is very enthusiastic to be back in January. Jerry, just on that note, you know how you sort of woken up this week and there's all these posts about how people are going to be smashing their targets for 2023. No, but I get all of that. We need to demonstrate to people that we're on our game and that we're thinking about it. But there are people like me who feel a little bit intimidated by all that kind of willy waving. Tell me that I'm not.
I hate the word smash. We're going to smash it. And don't get me wrong, I think I've been guilty sometimes of using it. And then I think, well, wait there. Why not say build? We're going to build to hitting a target. We're going to build a better way of doing things. Right? We're going to smash this target and smash that target. I'm starting to go away from that. I'm getting older.
But do you know what? That is the modern way there. They're smashing everything. They're not mashing it. They're smashing the potatoes. They're smashing the avocados. Yeah.
Yeah. But I kind of agree with avocados being smashed. I think it's the only way to consume them.
And on that wonderful note, I wish you all a merry, merry weekend. Whatever you're doing, do it safely, do it well, and tell us about it next week. Thank you very much.
Cheers, David.